All right, everybody, we are in book 2, so we're starting unit 2. The topic is ratios. So today we're doing introducing ratios and ratio language, lesson 1. So we will be describing two quantities at the same time. So for now, you are just listening. A ratio is an association between two or more quantities. So it involves two things. There are many ways to describe a situation in terms of ratios. For example, we look at this collection. So it says, here are some correct ways to describe the collection. So the first one says the ratio of squares to circles is 6:3. Now this 6:3, that is one way that we represent a ratio. Another way that we represent a ratio is 6:3. And those are the ways that you'll be seeing today. Okay, now the important thing to know with ratios is if the word squares comes first, the number for squares needs to come first. If the word circles comes second in the ratio, then the number for circles needs to come second in the ratio. That's a common mistake that kids make. So then it says the ratio of circles to squares is 3:6. So notice how this time they went from circles to squares. So these two numbers switch. Okay. Then it says, notice that the shapes can be arranged in equal groups, which allow us to describe the shapes using other numbers. So it says there are 2 squares for every 1 circle. So notice that all they did is they grouped the ones above. And if you group them for every 2 squares, you can see that there's 1 circle in every grouping. And then the other way that you can say this is there is 1 circle for every 2 squares. So it's interchangeable the way that you can say it. So again, it says a ratio is an association between 2 or more quantities. For example, the ratio 3:2 could describe a recipe that uses 3 cups of flour for every 2 eggs. So this is a real life scenario when you would use a ratio. Another example they give is a boat that moves 3 meters every 2 seconds. So one way to represent the ratio 3:2 is with the diagram that you see. So it says there are 3 blue squares for every 2 green. So that is a way that we group them. So now you're in your book, you're on page 6, and we're doing lesson 1. What kind and how many? All right, so on page 6, it says, if you sorted this set by color, how many groups would you have? So I see red, I see green, I see yellow, and I see blue. So if you were to group these, there would be 4 separate groups. There would be a group of blue, a group of green, a group of yellow, and a group of red, which makes 4. So on page 6, on number 1, you're writing 4. All right, we're still on page 6, and I'm doing number 2. It says, if you sorted this set by area, how many groups would you have? So the answer is there would be 4 groups. There is one group with an area of 2. There's another group with area of 3. There's another group with areas of 4. And there would be another group with an area of 5. So we would separate them by how many squares each has. And you would end up having 4 separate groups. All right, so now we're dealing with the teacher's collection. We're on lesson 2, and you're still on page 6. Okay, so it says the teacher's collection. Think of a way to sort my collection into 2 or 3 categories. Record your categories in the top row of the table and the amounts in the second row. So again, I have this picture of Jolly Ranchers, and I have a category name of green. There are 2 green. So the category name is green. The category amount is 2. And then I move to blue. I see 2 blues. So I labeled it blue for the category, and then the amount was 2. And then the next color I see is red. So I did red, and I have 5. There are 5 red Jolly Ranchers right there. And now what happens is we can write sentences based on the picture that I just showed you. So it says, write at least 2 sentences that describe ratios in the collection. Remember that there are many ways. So just because I chose these ways doesn't mean it's the right only way. There are many, many more ways that you can write all of this. So for the first one, I'm on number 2. It says the ratio of one category to another category is blank to blank. So I chose green and blue. So write those words under number 2. And the numbers for green and blue were 2 and 2. And the important thing to remember is if green is first in the wording, then green should be first in the ratio. And now the second one down, it says the ratio of red to blue is 5 to 2. So again, notice how I put red first. When it comes to writing it as a ratio, I would need red to be in the first set of numbers. So now it says there are 1 green for every 1 blue. So that's just the one that I chose. So for every 1 green, there's going to be 1 blue. So now we're going to work on the practice. So you will go back to class and we will be doing the practice.